another Vinyl Friday. If you missed Amy's last week, was yours last week, Amy? Yep, last week.
Sure.
Go check hers out because it was a fun one. Today we have JoAnn answering Facebook, and we have Jessica behind this one.
Instagram.
That was close.
And the skeleton guy back there.
And we have Amy behind this one. I'm not sure what that one is. Facebook.
Hi.
And then you have me right here doing the project. So, okay, so what we're going to do today, I like doing this. It's using fabric with vinyl. It's probably, I don't do it as often as I would like to, but it's easy to utilize. So we are going to make, it looks like a phrase that has been stitched, but it's actually Stripflock vinyl. So it's kind of a fuzzy velvety finish. And you just create a double, well not a double offset, an internal and an offset to create a seal over your fabric. And I'm going to show you how to cut your fabric and apply it. So what you're going to need to start out with this, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to interrupt or hands up, whatever. I might not make any sense doing this, so ask questions. So what you're going to need is fabric interfacing, and you can get this from most fabric stores. I'm going to say all fabric stores. Walmart has Heat and Bond, which works great. You can get it at most places. So just the thin sewable interfacing. And then you need a hook, which will weed your heat transfer and actually pull up your fabric. You're going to need a knife to trim your stuff, clear it out and everything. Your application tool or any type of squeegee will help put the fabric on your mat. Scissors to trim down your fabric and your interfacing, and fabric. I have two different fabrics today I'll kind of pinpoint to. We've got JoAnns Fabric, which is just in a 30 square. They're over with like the fat quarters and stuff. It's a I can't see what it says. 5 by 5 30 pack bundle. And if you have a coupon, it makes it $4. So if you're gonna do a lot of just little decals like we're gonna do today, I would go that route. Or there are some higher quality cottons, and I'll show you how to cut both because some cut better than others. So let's go ahead and get started. What you wanna do first is pick your fabric. So going to, actually back up. You need to create your design. Question.
Cindy asks, fusible, interfacing, or bonding agent?
I've only ever used interfacing. I'm assuming bonding agent is like the spray. I've never used it, but try it.
There's one that we've used all things silhouette that's Terrial Magic, and I think you can get it on Amazon, and it's a spray and it works really well.
You just spray your fabric and cut it.
I like it.
I will tell you too, if you do use interfacing, I'll show you this in a minute, but I'll show you a trick to doing it because you don't want to keep your backer on it because it'll make you really frustrated if you keep the backer on it. So, okay, so what I'm going to do, I don't need that plugged in right now. Okay. I'm just going to show you with some simple snowflakes, and that is actually what the file is called. It's a silhouette file called Simple Snowflake, and there's your number. If you didn't get there, all the files are here. But this is what we are working with right now. So I've got my snowflake already sized how I want it. And so what you're going to want to do first, if this seems a little slow, I apologize. I'm working upside down. There we go. Okay, so this image, this is going to be your fabric. So you're going to need to create your offset for your strip flock. And this is Siser Stripflock. And it comes in only 12-inch by 15-inch sheets. So first what you're going to want to do is close out of that.
What program are you using?
This is Silhouette's Studio Designer Edition, and this is the 4.1 version. So if you haven't upgraded, there's a fun new I don't know what you call them, icons, new added to it that are super fun. So upgrade. A lot of the new stuff you can't do unless you have the upgrade. So, All right, so this little guy right here, I don't know if you can see it. It's a star with an offset on it. So just click offset. It's gonna default to really big. You can leave it at that so you have a good overlap, but I like to make it just a little bit smaller. So you can adjust the points here and here. I usually like to do this, if I'm doing little kids' clothes, I like to round it a little bit because I think it's cuter. But you're going to adjust, I can't see where I'm at, right here. So this little arrow here, you're gonna watch these lines go in. Keep in mind, this is your fabric and this is going to be the outer portion of your strip flock. That's about good. You can do it however you want it. And then you're going to need to create an internal offset so that your strip flock is going to seal this line right here, which is going to avoid any freeze or anything catching when you wash it, or if it's on a towel when you use it. So you're just gonna go to internal offset, and that's gonna go really big as well. And then you have to go, oops, you have to go down until it's about where you like it. That's pretty much good to me. So that will cover it really well and give me room for error if I don't have it quite centered. So what you're gonna do next, keeping this line, I'm gonna click off. So you wanna grab this internal offset, hold shift, because you don't wanna lose that, and then grab this one as well, and you're gonna right click and make it a compound path. It's similar to grouping, but it's a little bit different. It kind of makes it a solid image when you're filling it with color. And I'll go in here and fill it with color so you can kind of see. If I grouped it, it wouldn't fill. So I like to do that to give me an idea of how thick it is and what it's gonna look like. So there's my strip flock. You have to remember to mirror this. This may look like a what's the word I'm looking for, guys? Symmetrical image. But it's actually not. So keep that in mind too. Flip horizontally. So my strip flock is ready to go. So I'm going to set it off to the side. And this is going to be my fabric. Okay. So now we're going to go get our fabric ready. Any questions so far? Easy to follow along? It's pretty easy to create an offset and an internal to create an outline. So what you're going to want to do now, I hope my iron's hot. It's not running on.
Oh no. Did you click the red button?
Oh. Did you click that?
Yeah.
Turn your iron on. That's okay. So I've got one of these already pressed and ironed. So there's my interfacing. You want to do it in from the fabric just a ways. Silhouette recommends about an inch, but an inch is pretty far. That's about from my knuckle to my pinky. That's a lot of fabric I feel like I'm wasting. So I do it as close as I can, and then I'm actually going to trim it off. So I'll show you how we do that. Okay, a tip that I've always been taught, to know the difference between a higher quality fabric and a not as high quality fabric is the border. If they have their company's logo or information printed on that, it's a higher quality. A lot of them won't have that and they're cheaper. So higher quality will cut a little bit better, but this doesn't cut quite so bad. So I am just going to cut. I would usually use my rotary cutter and my ruler to get it all straight because I can't have any crooked things, but we're just gonna guess. So I'm sorry, my OCD watchers. I don't approve of this either. So, okay. So you're gonna want a board. I've got JoAnn's handy dandy board she made here. And then you're just gonna kind of line it up. We're gonna square this off too, so don't be too worried about getting it like perfect. Okay. All right.
For those of us just joining us, can you remind us what we're making?
We are making, for those just joining, we are showing how to use fabric with the Stripflock vinyl to make like a faux embroidered look. And if you're like me and you just don't have time after you create quilt appliques or anything like this, onesies, just a bunch of fabric stuff, I hate embroidering on it afterwards. I just don't have time for it and I just don't want to do it. So Stripflock is an awesome alternative, especially if you use your silhouette for a lot of your quilting projects. Alright, so got our fabric ready, iron's warmed up. This takes about 2 seconds. You're just gonna press it on. I have it on the cotton setting. I'm just gonna press it on flat. I did all of these guys on my heat press, and so they all have a backer on them, and it made it so much easier than doing them one at a time. You just lay them all out and press it down. And then you want to do the top till it's smooth. And then you do want to let this cool. So while this is cooling, we will show you how to get this ready. Okay. So you could cut it like this right now, but I would not recommend it because when your blade comes in contact with this paper, it's gonna drag. So trim this off. I've just found them to cut a lot better with this backer off of it than with it.
So on Instagram, the JS family says, awesome, I'm going to have to try this. I'll tag you guys.
Do it. It's fun. It's fun to make. I've done table runners, like I said, tea towels, and it's just super fun. I love doing it. Okay, so where I've already got this pressed on, I'm just going to take this off with my hook. Whoops. Okay. So this is just the paper backing. There's nothing on that. All the adhesive has applied to the fabric. So I don't know if you can see that gloss. Yeah. That's the glue. So that's kind of how heat transfer is. It's got the heat activated glue. So this is fine. You can store this until you're ready to use it. It's not gonna stick on anything until it hits heat.
Sorry, there's a question about how long you put the iron on that and the temperature for that.
The iron, I just did the cotton setting. Just until your fabric's on there. It really doesn't take long. Just until it's smooth. I can't remember what Silhouette recommended. They say press firmly for about 2 seconds, so it doesn't take very long. I do front and back and then just let it cool because you want that to bond to your fabric square.
Can you go over what you put on the back of that fabric again?
Yeah. We put... You can get fabric interfacing or stabilizer or heat and bond. It is the thinner stuff and it's got a little bit of a texture on it, and that's the glue. This is where your fabric will attach. Once you've ironed it, you'll peel that off and it exposes the glue that's going to adhere to your project. So you can get this Walmart, JoAnns, Silhouette carries their own line. So lots of good stuff. And some of them have different, some of them have sewable, some of them have just cut and ready. It just kind of depends on what you're doing. This you could really do either or. Okay, so now that we've got our fabric ready, and this is the JoAnns Fabric Squares for 30 little pieces. So if you want to do a quick table runner, get these, and then you can use these as your accents for whatever you're doing. Okay, you want to have a clean mat. This one's used, but it's pretty sticky still. You don't want a dirty mat because you don't want the blade to hit any specks or anything that's below it. I've tried to clean it off pretty well. And then just take your application tool and smooth it down. Get it as firm as possible. Okay. Get the iron out of the way. And then we're going to send it to our silhouette. Any other questions? What are people working on? It's New Year's resolution time. My resolution is to make more quilt stuff. We'll see if it happens. We'll see. All right, so we've got our snowflake like I showed before. Okay.
Can you tell us your fabric interfacing? Was it light, mid-weight, or?
I like to do the light because I think it cuts easier. It's totally preference. If you have a heavier stuff, you'll just have to adjust your settings. But I like the light. Walmart has a heat and bond that's lightweight and it's got a purple strip down it. That's what I mostly use. But any of it'll work.
And can you show us your shirt one more time? Show us what you're making. We've got a couple ones just joining us.
I'm not showing this image right now, but we're just making this shirt, and it's got blue cotton fabric underneath the strip flock, and the strip flock makes it look embroidered. And I've made these before, and as long as you get it secured underneath, they wash beautifully.
So there was a question, do you have to use strip flock or can you use other?
No, you can use, I just like to use a strip flock because it looks like it's embroidered. You can use glitter, you can even use easy weed. Any of it'll work. I just prefer strip flock because I think it looks the most like thread stitched. I've had quite a few quilt ladies do this, and they love doing this now for their quilt parties, their quilt guilds, everything. They'll make name tags. It's super fun and saves them time on stitching. So, all right, so what we're gonna wanna do first, okay. I need to change my settings so that I have my, can you guys see the screen? Okay, is my head in the way?
I just keep getting an Amy shot.
I need to turn my mat on. If I were to send this right now, it would feed too far one way. I can't remember which way. But you just want to go down to your cutting mat, select it, and select your size. And I'm using the 12 by 12. And it's going to change it to that. This won't cut just because it's off of it, but we'll move it anyways. Okay, so the piece that we've got, if you do have random scraps and you don't cut it quite straight, the trick I use is I just flip my mat over and kind of gauge where this is. And right now it's about 4.5 by 4.5. But I will make it like 4.25, just a little bit smaller than it actually is, because I don't want it to catch on the edge. This is hard to do upside down. Can't get back one.
That's it when you're like, can use both hands.
Yeah. The numbers are all upside down.
Ambidextrous.
Yeah.
But you're like upside down, dexterous.
Dexterous.
Making up new words here.
Okay, so I've got 4.5 by 4.5 on my mat, and it matches up with that, which is actually 4.5. This is 4.25. So I'm just going to line them up. I can probably get about 2 on here. These ones you don't want to mirror because this is fabric. You're just going to iron it on. The heat transfer you will have to flip. So I can get 2 on there. When it comes to cutting fabric, I have used the premium blade. I have used the fabric blade. I think the fabric blade works a lot better, but it depends on your settings and it depends on the fabric you're using. With these little tests I've done, the fabric blade works a lot better, but I'll show you some tricks. Okay, so I've got it ready to go, and I'm going to use tool 2, and I've got my fabric blade already marked at a 3. And these are just the settings that I have found to work for these particular fabrics. So I've got it set to a cut, a blade of 3, a speed of 5, and a force of 18, but I'm doing a double pass. That way it'll get through all the fabrics without you weeding it out and ripping any strands that didn't quite cut. To adjust that, you can just go up and down, but I'm also doing the, you have to go to these 3 little dots to get advanced settings. You want to change your line segment overcut. What that's going to do is it is going to drag your blade just a little bit past that point. So any points or curves, it's just going to make sure it cuts them cleanly. I would always do that with fabric.
Can you show us where that is again?
Yeah. Let me go back out. So it's under your settings. I'm using tool 2, so I want to make sure I'm under tool 2. These 3 little dots right here. And on the blog, I do zoom in on that so you can find it easily. You just want to click on that. All of your settings should be in here, but I want to make sure that I'm on the correct setting and adjust your line segment overcut. It won't be to this setting. I've changed it to 0.3 millimeters, which is tiny, but it's enough to get it to cut cleanly. And you can adjust it from the start extend, and an end extend. So that kind of depends on if it's going out or in, and I just do both. and then you'd save it, and that setting is ready to go. Oops, did I take it off? Yeah, there we go. You want to make sure it's checked, otherwise it's not going to do it. So, okay, and we'll load our fabric. Just gonna move this out of the way. Any questions so far?
You mentioned a blog post.
Oh,
Is that ready to go?
yes.
Okay.
The blog is ready to go. We'll get it up now so you guys can follow along. There are a few steps that I'm not showing because I'm not doing that same image because it goes kind of into detail, but I go really specific on it so you can do step by step. Okay, so now my hands are all backwards because I was upside down. Okay, so I've got it in tool 2. I've got my fabric blade set, and I do this to make sure it doesn't come up so my blade doesn't drag. And I've got my mat set, so I should be ready to go.
So while that's cutting, can you tell us where we can find the blog?
The blog should be at expressionsarm.com, and there's a blog option. I can't remember what I titled it. What did I title it, JoAnn?
Sorry.
I believe.
The first one there, use Stripflock with bow embroidery.
So if you do a lot of applique and stuff, this is fun to do because you can just kind of hit everything at once, all your different layers. You can create multiple layers in your silhouette program and just give everything an offset, and it makes it so much easier to work with. I wouldn't speed this up just because fabric is fibrous. So keep in mind you might have areas that cross. If it's a higher density fabric, it'll be closer weave, so it's going to cut a lot cleaner. This isn't too bad, but this other stuff that we did before, this is a higher grain. I don't know if you can see the quality difference, but this looks a lot more grainy, and this looks a lot more smooth. And you can tell by quality if it feels like paper, it's a thinner quality. If it feels like fabric or cloth, it's the quality. Okay, so
Sarah is asking what blade you're using to cut fabric.
this is Silhouette's fabric blade, and it is the only one that's blue. I mean, the premium one has a blue cap, but this has the stronger blade. It's the tungsten, I can't remember what it's called, I wrote it down. But it's a tungsten, and this is a carbide blade, but it cuts a lot cleaner. I think it has a different angle. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I have found that this does cut fabric a lot better. I didn't save the one. I cut a couple pieces with both, and the premium didn't quite work. So it works great on cardstock and vinyl and other stuff, but fabric, I'd use the fabric blade. Okay, so we're ready. We'll weave this out. This should come out cleanly. The rest of mine came out cleanly. So let's see. You're just gonna weed it up. Look at that. If I didn't do that segment overcut, it may have snagged when I cut here. So it cut out here and it will cut in a little bit there. Just a tiny, tiny bit. I mean, 3 millimeters is nothing. It's just enough to catch those crosshairs. So, yeah, there we go. And just going to lift them up. Okay, so I have done all of these. And had I had that paper backer on, it would have dragged. Should we try it with the paper back so you guys can see, or let's do that while this other one is, it's probably ready, but we'll try it for fun since we've got the program ready to go. Okay, so those that are just tuning in, if you didn't see this part, I've got my interfacing attached to my fabric and my fabric. I don't have it as far in as Silhouette recommends, but I want to save on some fabric. You could cut this to 5 inches all the way up there. The reason why they have you cut it smaller is so when you're ironing it, you don't get any of the adhesive on your iron. And trust me, you don't want that. It's a pain to clean off. Okay.
So we do have a question. She's saying, is this easier than HTV?
I don't know.
It's kind of the same, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of the same. It's a different look. It just depends on what you're going for. Heat transfer, you're not going to have to bond one thing to another. You just send it in and cut it. So it depends on what look you're going for. If you want a patterned heat transfer, yeah, you might. I don't know. It's a good question. Okay, so we didn't take that paper backer off. And we're gonna see how it does. Watch, it's gonna work fine now. Every time I've done this though, it has snagged because it bunches up. But we'll see how it's going. And while that's going, we'll trim this down as well. And this one we will use to, these ones will be fairly easy for the strip flock because they're a solid image. I can just put this on my material and then put my strip flock on top and I don't have to worry about lining anything up. When it comes to lining up letters or not solid images that are spaced, that's where it gets a little bit tricky, and I've tried different ways. The easiest way to do it is to press part of it down and just kind of lift it up and slide them underneath. So I'll show you with that one on how to do this. And letters are a little bit trickier sometimes,
So for those of the viewers on Instagram, can you tell them where we'll save this video for later?
we will save, where are we going to save this video? YouTube. I forgot where. So Instagram viewers, you can go watch this video on YouTube. If you're just tuning in, it's kind of fun. Just doing a fun winter project right now. It's cold outside. Hey. You have any other questions? Where is everybody from? What's everybody's craft resolutions? I forgot to ask that. Maybe I did. What's everybody working on? People started Valentine's projects. Okay, let's see how. Ooh, I can already tell this didn't do well. Alright, let's move these guys out of the way.
Can you talk about the backing you've got again?
Yeah. I've got the interfacing again. You can get it in sheets. I prefer to get it in rolls. It just works easier, and then you can trim it down. For all these ones that I've trimmed to size, I actually got this in sheets, so it was a lot easier to trim down just on my fabric trimmer. And I've got several pieces ready to go for when I do whatever I want to do with that. So, and this is just the fabric interfacing, heat and bond. You can get it at JoAnns, Walmart. I'm sure Hobby Lobby has some too. And Silhouette also has their own brand. So, okay.
Can you tell us why you need that?
You need that so that you basically are turning your fabric into a heat transfer material. So it's got, once you heat that on there, it applies, it's a double-sided adhesive, but one side isn't activated until you pull the paper backer off. So it's kind of like heat transfer, only it doesn't have a carrier sheet. But yeah, you're just putting the adhesive on there so that when you put it on your shirt, it's activated. That's all that's for. You could do some sprays. I've never tried it, but I've heard sprays work good. All right, okay, let's turn this so you guys can see. You can already tell it's already kind of lifted. None of this was on that other one. It's snagged. See that? It may come off cleaner. Nope. Here's another reason why I would not use the paper. That one didn't come off too bad. But, oh, that one didn't too. Of course it works and I'm showing everybody. But, another reason why not to leave that paper on is you can't get this off. It's a nightmare to get off. So, keep that in mind too, where you want to have a really clean mat. You don't want to have all of your paper backer left behind. It's just a pain to clean off. So just take it off before and put your fabric with the heat and bond already applied onto it, like this one. So let's hurry and see if we can get that off with the squeegee. Kind of works.
Kathy says, thanks for showing that.
Yeah, I did that several times, and I was like, man, when I was first starting this, how do people do this? It's such a pain. Just take the backer off. It's night and day. It'll make a world of difference. Okay.
So we have a question. Will your fabric fray after multiple washes?
With this technique, I've never had it fray. You will want to make sure that you do have all the pieces underneath it, but that's why some interfacings are sew and go, or you have to apply it and then you have to sew it, but there's some that like seal the edge of the frays, but I would always seal it because I'm always afraid they're going to fray. That will also be in part to if it's a higher quality cotton versus a lower quality. So if it's got that labeling on the side, it's a higher quality, and you can feel the difference. Okay. So this is a really rough cut, but we're just going to leave it on there because I know that my image is going to be fine. So while we're doing that, we're going to let the winter... Okay, we're going to cut out the winter, and this is the silhouette font. It is the LD. I didn't put LD, but you'll want to put LD because that's the designer's initials. What is it? Hang 10 font. So it's that number as well. I like that one because it's a little bit more blocky fabric. If you want to try to cut swirly ones, it kind of struggles, so you might want to slow it down. But block stuff does fine. So I'm going to let that cutting, and while we're letting it cut, we're going to apply our snowflakes so I can show you that technique. Okay. Any questions? Nothing? Is this helpful to anybody? Has anybody already tried this? Or has been afraid to try it, and now you're going to go try it because it's Friday and you've got crafting to do?
Vanessa says, hello. Teeny Toes Design says, Florida. It's chilly today. Chilly in... Oh, I lost it. Hi from Las Vegas.
Las Vegas is nice and warm. It's not too bad today in Shelley, Idaho.
Could you repeat again the exact name of the blade that you're using?
It's the Silhouette Fabric Blade, and we will have links at the top where you can go get that from us as well. Okay, so I'm going to actually do this on the tea towel, just to show you a different surface. This has a little bit of a weave to it. I haven't found that to ever really be a problem, but some are very weaved and some are not. So maybe try out some test pieces before. Okay. Okay. You always want to iron your surface to get it all smooth. And this is pretty much already seamed, but I'm going to fold it the other way. I like to put tea towels in my kitchen on like my fridge handle or my oven handle, so I'm pretty picky about how straight they are. And I don't let my husband touch them. Don't let your husbands use these cute towels you do. Okay.
Ooh, 123 Do Re Mi says, I'd love to try it with some buffalo plaid.
Ooh, that would be cute. That would be really cute. I'm sure you can get buffalo plaid like tons of places right now. Even though it's after Christmas, I'm sure you still can. Okay. So, right now I'm just trying to kind of make some seams, kind of smooth out that middle seam. You could still use a pillow for this if you want, but you don't have to.
We have a question about, will this work with the heat press, or should I iron first?
You can do a heat press. I use my heat press at home because it's right there. I'll just put my tea towel in, press it for like 5 seconds at 305, and then I will lay out all my snowflakes where I want them. So I've got black and white, and this is kind of what the strip flock will look like after it's weeded. I missed some spots. Don't miss spots. Oh, come on. Okay, so I thought black and white would be kind of fun on a gray with the blue. I'll show you how we weed that out. So you're just gonna take your fabric, make sure the pattern's up, and just lay them however. Remember, this is not symmetrical, so you will have to keep in mind, I do know where the point is that needs to line up. If you look at this snowflake, these two are touching, so it's gotta be this point right here because it's a smaller gap. But not all of your images will probably be like that. All right.
Kitty Sky Boutique says, I've tried this and love this technique.
I love it too. I think it's super fun. I'm surprised more people don't do it. So if you've never tried it, go and try it. It's super fun to do. And it's super fun to do with little kids, because you can make all sorts of cute stuff for them. Okay, I feel like we need this one here. Okay. So since this already has that heat and bond backer already on it, you don't even have to do it for that long because that strip flock is going to also require heat. You're just gluing them down. So in that sense, it's kind of like heat transfer, only it's fabric heat transfer, if that makes sense. Okay, I am going to take this back apart. Oh, I lost them. Because there was a seam right there and that snowflake just didn't like it. Okay.
Steph is asking if you can cut fabric with most of the different machines, like Cricut.
Yep. Cricut has a fabric blade. The new Cricut Maker is for fabric. They have a rotary blade. I have yet to try it. I think it's fun. I think Cricut did really well with that. So, but if you don't have that one, most machines will work. If they don't have a specific fabric blade, you might have to adjust it to whatever's working for your fabric. So do a test cut beforehand. Okay, so these are all ready to go. And so where I said before, it's not symmetrical because these points are touching. You might kind of have to rotate it until it lines up. And that's why you want to do a little bit fatter than I did these ones, so it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. And strip flock is 320 degrees for 15 to 20 seconds. Where I'm doing an iron, and it's probably not going to be washed as much. You never know. If your husband uses tea towels, it'll get washed. They're not supposed to. They're decorative only. But yeah, if it's on a heat press, 320 for 15 to 20 seconds. Cold peel. I did it with this iron just now on cotton. I don't know, for like 10 seconds. But I'm going to let that one sit and cool while we'll do this guy. Where should this black one go? Here? Should we do some white ones down here? What do you guys think? We'll wait on your guys' opinions and we will weed that one out.
Teeny Toes says, I've cut out the fabric and thought it always looked unfinished. So glad I am seeing this with this strip flock. Makes it look finished.
Yes, and you don't have to take the time and embroider. I do it, I've done it on baby quilts before. If I do like their name in cute little fabrics. That's kind of what I'm going to show you with fonts too, because it is a little bit more tricky. The fun thing about strip flock is it's a little bit thicker. I don't know where my hook went, so I'm using my blade. Oh, it's a little bit thicker, so you can kind of get away with keeping the middle. So I will just take my weeding tool and just kind of mosey on around. You're not going to affect it.
Can you tell us what this white stuff is?
This is just the white strip flock. So there's black, there's white, there's gray. We've got that linked too. You can go check it out. They only come in 12-inch by 15-inch. But they're super fun, super fuzzy. So
you could use that on another project too.
And that's why I like to save anything like this, because you could use that again. And you would just need to cover it with something and it's ready to go, because it's not going to be, it's not useless. You can use it over and over. Okay, so let's weed out another one. People are just tuning in. This is the strip flock vinyl. And it's pretty easy to weed. Okay, and just take your hook. You could just pull it up, but then they kind of curl a lot, and if you store it for a while, they'll be fine. But if you want to use it right away, you'll want to kind of be careful. I just like to save any little pieces that I could. Okay. Alright. Do we get any comments on where to put that black one and these white ones?
Bottom right, your top left.
My top left. You have to help me there. For the black one?
I don't,
This one?
I don't know.
Yeah, that one looks nice.
That one looks nice. Okay, see that one's not lined up. I don't know if you can see that. The fabric's sticking out there. It looks like it's straight up here, but it's not positioned right because that's actually the small point is up here. So just rotate it until Stripflock kind of leaves some of the fuzz behind, so it can kind of be hard to see through. Oh, I really can't find that one. Where is it? What's this one? Nope. We're just gonna keep rotating him.
Oh, Paula wants to see the silhouette designs again. So I'm gonna sneak in here. Here are the silhouette files she is using, Paula.
So the only two we've used so far is the Hang 10, which is the winter, and the Simple Snowflake. But the the kite script is the Wonderland, which I'll show you when we apply that. Okay, now we're just gonna apply that again. With a heat press, you could just line them all up and hit them all at once. It's kind of nice and convenient. We'll let those ones cool. I really like to weed Stripflock when you're trimming it down because the Care sheet doesn't really stay, excuse me, doesn't stay sticky like on Easy Weed because it leaves the fuzz. It won't really stick to your shirt. So it's kind of nice when you're weeding that's a little bit thicker and trimming it down. You kind of have a ledge. Makes it really easy to use. Can anybody tell me what these squares are called that I'm using? Trivia question.
Pop quiz, I like it.
What are these called? They're not boxes. They're not squares. Okay.
Can you tell us what kind of vinyl you're using again?
Yep. We are using Siser Stripflock. So it's a fuzzy, velvety finish. You can use any other vinyl, heat transfer vinyl to do this. The Stripflock just looks the closest to embroidery thread.
Ooh, Steph and Little Me Time both got it right.
What is it called?
Weeding box.
Weeding box. So many people ask us about weeding boxes, and it is such a simple tip. It's if you've never heard one, just put a box around your image, and it saves you on space, like I did. And this, I probably could have done a rough cut around it because I'm lining it up with its own shape, but get in the habit of using weeding boxes. Okay. Where is my little one? There it is. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit more pressure. So with an iron, do cotton setting. I'm just guesstimating on this. But you'd probably still wanna do 15 to 20 seconds with firm pressure. And then let it cool because it has to adhere. So it's similar to the interfacing. You wanna let it cool. Okay, so while those ones are cooling, we'll take the black ones off. So I need to do a little bit more there. If you need to give a little bit more time, you could put it back down. This one slipped. Did not mean for that to happen. This is why I would do it a little bit thicker, like we did our other one. If you do it in a little bit thicker, you might lose a little bit of the detail on the snowflake, but not really because you're outlining it. So keep that in mind too. You want to make sure you're lining up really well. But when it's ready, it's ready to go. This one I will need to press again. So while those ones are cooling, let's go ahead and do our letters. Okay. This one I left the paper on and I didn't mean to. Look what happens. It didn't cut. So that's okay. I have enough that, oh, this is why you take the paper back off. I'm just gonna trim that off because I've got enough on this other side that I can still use this fabric. Because this right now, here you get a close up of that. It won't cut with the paper background. And you saw how easily these other ones cut. That backer just causes issues. So, let's take that off. Can't get it in one piece. And I've done this on fabric that I've planned on using for something. If I kind of like I have the time, I'll just get it ready and store it in a sleeve or something to protect it until I use it, and it does great. And it's ready to go. You're basically turning your fabric into paper. Okay. Let's go cut that again.
What was that little trick you just did?
Whoops. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so if it ever pauses or you've unloaded it and it's canceled and you didn't mean to, which is what I actually did before, but it was done cutting, it kind of freaks your machine out. So if you turn it off and move your housing unit back and forth just a couple times, it kind of recalibrates it and it goes. So, quick little trick. This is also doing the overcut and a double cut. Every time I've done a single cut at a thicker thickness, it doesn't cut quite right. So do a double cut. Any questions?
Megan says, could you use Cricut's Maker and not use the backing?
Well, Cricut Maker, I don't think you even need to use interfacing, depending upon what you're doing.
Not to cut it, but you would probably want it once you adhere it to your
Yeah. So yes.
t-shirt.
But if you're just doing quilt project, or not even, yeah, just quilt projects where you like make the quilt, and they have lots of designs, they have a new mat that you don't need the interfacing, and it sticks to it. So silhouette, you do need some sort of interfacing. I'm going to take my strip lock off while it's... Oh, I ripped one. Okay, so there's my white ones. That happened because I accidentally had this carrier sheet underneath, and when I pressed it, it was on top. So be aware of that. I've done that before. You can have multiples, you just want to make sure that they're not sticking on top of the vinyl and then another one's on top. So I'd even have maybe trimmed that. So, oops, sorry.
Okay, for those people just tuning in, can you tell us what you're doing?
Okay, so right now I'm going to be using a fabric. I've already got interfacing on it that created a nice adhesive on the back of it. This will be used for applique. So we're making applique images and fonts. And this one did not cut as well. But we're going to be using the Stripflock to give an embroidered look. So we're doing applique and embroidery at the same time. My blade is getting dull. What should I have done before I cut, even though I knew what the setting was? What should I have done?
Another pop quiz.
Pop quiz.
Pray that it works.
But I knew it was gonna work, right? So it's getting a little dull. That could either be that the blade itself is getting dull or there's gunk. So if you do a lot of cuts, you might want to clean that out before. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's just fibers up inside there. So if it's clogged, the blade can't turn correctly. Therefore, it didn't cut quite right. So you want a clean cut. I'm gonna take that off so you can
Oh, good job, girls.
look at that gunk.
We got a few that say you should have done a test cut.
Should have. See all those fibers? That will wrap around your blade with fabric. So you want to make sure you clean your blades when you're using the fabric blade. But just clean it out, blow it out, and it's ready to go. So it's probably not that it's dull, it's probably that I didn't clean the fibers out. Okay. Still gonna show you with this, because some parts did really well. Oh, I do need that still. Okay, so here's our applique. I tried different techniques to get this off in one solid image like you would with transfer tape. It doesn't quite work. So if anybody's got any genius ideas or they figure something out, I want to know because I haven't figured it out. Okay. So we've got our Winter Wonderland. I've got on the blog and in the links, we've got the Swirl Snowflake, the Hang 10 font, and the Kite script font. Okay.
So Teresa says, what's the difference between adhesive vinyl and the heated transfer vinyl?
Heat transfer vinyl, it feels more like a plastic. So if you look at, this is the Stripflock line that we carry. It has a plastic carrier sheet, and the adhesive is not sticky until it's heat activated. Adhesive vinyl will have a paper backer, and then if you lift it, you can feel the adhesive. So heat transfer is heat activated, adhesive is already sticky. So it's also called iron-on vinyl if you've heard that term. All right, so let's iron out these creases. Sure the iron's still hot. Okay. And then same thing, but I don't want to hit this yet. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit any portion. So if you had anything else around it, I'd hit that first. Okay, just to keep it secure. Because if I slide it, it may do what that snowflake did. Okay, where'd my W go? I lost my W. Please. It's worse than losing your cheese. Don't use your W. Huh? I could probably stand without losing my W. I need my cheese. What? Ooh. We'll hurry it up here.
So we've got a couple people asking, they say, like, I just got a Cricut Maker, have no idea how to use it. Should I put the spotlight on JoAnn?
Do it. Okay, so you're just gonna line that up.
Yes, we are working on tutorials. JoAnn is our resident Cricut,
Yes, that's me.
Cricut expert.
So this is the only thing I don't like about doing fonts with this technique. I'd rather do shapes. Is you have to be very careful about lining it up. But then you would just go through and press it. So once it's where you think it is, see my W slipped, just drag it back up until it's in line. You just want to make sure that your edge is not back here. You want to make sure it's at least past that point, which I think it all is. And then you're just going to press it again. And then, like before, it's cold peel, so.
I'm going to show you guys up close how cute this is. The texture of it. It's so fun.
This is a little bit easier to do on shirts because it doesn't have all this texture, but it's still possible to do. my eye.
How are you gonna see?
My eye. So looking back, what I would probably do with this, make it a little bit easier, is I would probably put my fabric down how I want it and then lay this down, but do these as separate pieces. This is welded together, so that's why I'm kind of stuck with where it is. I have 2 ends.
Because you're a winner.
2 ends.
Winter.
Winter. Okay.
Oh, fun. So ABM says, I love this. I need to try this with some of my fabric scraps. Fun watching your videos. So real and very helpful.
Thanks. Yeah, go try it. This would be fun to do with fabric scraps. Okay. Just gonna count about 15 seconds.
So Vanessa's just tuning in. Can you tell us what you're doing again?
We are using the Stripflock heat transfer as an embroidered look with cotton fabric with an interfacing underneath it to make appliques.
So this blue part on Instagram, this blue part is her fabric. And then this white outline is the Siser Stripflock. Ooh, good question. What do you have your iron turned on to?
Right now it's turned on to cotton. On a heat press, Stripflock would be about 320 degrees. Most irons, I think Siser came out with this and said that they're set to about 400 degrees on the cotton setting. So keep that in mind. But we're gonna want that to cool first. So I'm gonna flip this over. I like this trick too with Stripflock where any cold pill heat transfer, if you put it on a cold surface, you'll feel it cool down right away. Quartz and granite work fast. Okay. And if you wanted, you could have put fabric behind that too in your design. Okay. See, slid there. So I would probably position them in there first and take this apart. Okay, so there you go. We've got our Stripflock as our embroidery finish and onto our interfaced fabric. So, yeah. Any other questions before we take off?
Does the texture cause problems with it staying on?
Will you repeat that question?
The question was, does the texture create problems when it's for staying on? I've never had any texture. If you have heavy textured cloths, it might cause an issue. But I've never had it with any like the waffle tea towels or anything like that. Shirts do fine. The regular tea towels do great. So it'll even work on canvas and stuff. So yeah, it's easy to do. But I would, if you have any material that you're questioning, I would do a little test piece under the inside or in a corner just to try it out first. So great question.
KH Design Company or Co says, what's the difference between regular HTV and the Stripflock?
The Stripflock is HTV. HTV is just heat transfer vinyl, so Stripflock is a line of heat transfer. So you've got like your Siser, glitter, your Stripflock, your Easy Bead. They're just the lines. So Stripflock, if you want this effect, you want it to look fuzzy, you want Stripflock. Otherwise you can do glitter or whatever you want. So, okay, I think that's it. Now we've got a fun winter tea towel. Go try it out. Try it on shirts, try it on canvases, try it on tea towels. Just go have fun. Go stock up on some fabric or use your scraps. So thanks for watching, everybody, and have a good weekend. Bye.